First, we have Jenny Dufresne with Dufresne Solutions Group. Right there. And Ashiya Jones with Lone Star Legal Aid. Gabriella Rogerson from ADP. And Sherman Smith with the TWC Tax Office.
Good morning.
I'm going to ask each panel member to give a quick overview of who they're with and what they do with their business. Jenny?
So good morning, everyone. Since this is an odd room, and I know that there's folks over there that won't be able to be seen, if I may. My name is Jenny Dufresne. I run the Dufresne Solutions Group, a training and leadership development company. We train leaders to develop great companies by focusing on their mid-level managers, developing those critical leadership skills that mid-level managers need, as well as aspiring leaders. For the purpose of today, one of the other divisions of our company is focusing on small businesses and helping small businesses build the structures to help them be effective. A little bit of background, I built and led a multi-million-dollar organization from concept to multi-million dollars, from 6 staff to 60. So I have a little bit of experience in hiring and building teams and that type of thing, as well as operations, finance, all of those aspects. This is my third or fourth company. So I'm excited to be here today and look forward to your questions. And I'm also, in case you haven't realized this, I'm also a former Marine. So if there's any veterans in the house, would you please stand to be acknowledged? Are there any veterans in the house? Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Ashiya?
Okay, my name is Ashiya Jones. I am a staff attorney with Lone Star Legal Aid. And so Lone Star Legal Aid, we're a nonprofit legal services firm here in the Houston area. We serve 72 counties surrounding Houston. We're one of the 4th largest legal services providers in the nation. We're here today to introduce you guys to our Equitable Development Initiative. And within that initiative, we are now providing legal services to small businesses. In whatever stage the business is currently in, we would like to make stronger communities by ensuring that small businesses have stronger legal setup, as well as additional assistance for any type of legal issues that small businesses may have.
Gabriella?
Hi everybody, my name is Gabriella Rogerson. I am with ADP Small Business Services here in Houston. ADP pays 1 in 6 U.S. workers, but in the past 5 years or so, we've really distinguished ourselves as experts in human capital management. And essentially what that means is we work with the entire life cycle of an employee from recruitment, hire to retire. My division specifically focuses on small to medium-sized companies, 1 to 49 employees. And that's because the IRS distinguishes anybody with over 50 full-time equivalent employees as being a large employer. So ADP has different options for companies based off of their size and the company's needs. But when I'm sitting down with companies, no matter if they're 1 employee, 10 employees, or 100 employees, we're seeing 3 main things as being concerns for small to medium-sized companies. And those concerns are in the areas of recruitment, retaining their talent, and then mitigating employee risk. So ADP has solutions to help with all of these things. Right now, I'm not sure if you're aware of where unemployment is at, but unemployment is historically low, which means employees now have options when choosing employers. That means that really small and medium-sized companies are competing with large organizations for top talent and to retain that top talent. So ADP has some unique solutions such as employee discount programs and employee assistance programs for our small and medium-sized companies that are things you can offer to your employees if, let's say, they need a counseling service, or maybe a new mother is looking for childcare services and you're trying to, assist them in finding that. Those are just unique type of benefits that, if you can't afford a full-blown rich health benefits and retirement plan, those are things that you can start putting in place. And then on the compliance piece, we walk into small and medium-sized companies all the time that, don't have HR infrastructure just because they don't have the resources to have a full HR department. So we are able to help in areas of making sure that your I-9s, your W-4s are filled out correctly and stored correctly, that your labor law posters are up to date, that you have handbooks and job descriptions. And ADP has tons of different solutions based off of the size of the company to help in these different areas. Thank you.
Hey, Sherman?
Good morning. How's everybody? Any employers in the house? Anybody already have employees? Good. Then I'm with Texas Workforce Commission. Don't boo, that's the tax office. There's, you probably know us as Texas Employment Commission, or that's probably what you think of us are. And these days, people think that Texas Workforce and Texas WorkSource are the same. We're workforce. I'm with the tax office. We bring money in from you, the employers, and we give it out to people who want unemployment insurance. So that's probably what you know us as. Primarily what our focus right now is technology. We want to make sure that if you're an employer or if you're an aspiring employer, if you want to have employees, that you can do this with today's technology. So our websites are up and running. You have to file and pay tax online now. We're getting to the point where it's going to be a penalty if you don't. Sorry, not my rules. Our main focus is that, so you can call us for assistance. Everybody in the country or in the state who has an employer, who is an employer, you have a representative. You can call the rep's number. If you don't get them and you're in Dallas or Addison or Fort Worth, you might push 0 for assistance and get me in Houston. So we can help you statewide. So we're trying to make sure that this is a painless process. There are ramifications for filing taxes on time, long term. There are ramifications for not filing tax on time. You choose the way you want to go. I'll tell you which way I would accept that you ought to go. To ensure compliance, we also do audits. We audit records. We audit records and books primarily to search for misclassified workers. There's a lot of problems with misclassified workers to the tune of about $50 to $60 million a year. We find misclassified workers. That's just what we find. That's about $7 million in tax. We try to add back into the Workforce Commission budget for unemployment insurance. And it's primarily for people who are unemployed through no fault of their own. Everybody's saying how great the economy is. There's jobs, but some people are unemployed. Believe me, they're still unemployed. So what we do is we try to help bridge that gap. And as a tax office, we try to help you bridge that gap to where you are and to keeping in compliance with filing tax timely. Okay? And we do have a sheet on the table, the red, white, and blue bubbles. That's the sheet for misclassified workers. So one side is pretty, the other side is a real small print. Guess which side is more important? If you have any questions, we'll be happy to address those. Thank you. Not yet. We're ready.
Yes, if we could hold the questions off to the end, if you don't mind. I think this is a good segue with what Sherman said into his section, so we're going to start with Sherman on this. How does TWC determine who is misclassified?
Was that your question? No? Okay. What we do is we look at the other side of that form. That's the 20 common law factors. And we don't say, okay, you get 11 for and 9 against. We look at all those factors. We look at the industry. We look at what we call the preponderance of evidence. I like that word, preponderance. It's a cool word. But we look at everything. So we look at what's accepted in the industry. What we do is we make a decision in the field, and we decide based on that evidence that, yes, you are, in fact, misclassifying workers. And then we unmisclassify them for you. How's that? And charge you a little bit extra tax. But that's primarily the way we go about doing that.
How many people are misclassified in a year's time?
Well, as I mentioned, we have about $60 million a year in misclassified workers. That's kind of misleading because we look at about 9,000 that we tax you a year on a worker. So $60 million could be one person. No, it's probably about, I'd say about 600 or 700 people.
Well, what are the long-term ramifications of misclassifying?
Long-term ramifications, there are. Long-term ramifications actually go into as deep as Social Security. So if you have somebody who's working for you as a clerk, and you decide, okay, they want to be a 1099 employee, which I hear a lot, and you pay them their $12, $15 an hour, and they work for you for 15 years, and then they decide, okay, I'm ready to retire. and there's no Social Security there for them because you didn't pay your part and they didn't pay their part. That's long-term ramifications. That's something that never goes away because now they've got to go back, or the IRS or the Social Security Administration has got to go back 15 years and determine where all that was, what happened, and why it's not there.
And what, if any, penalty does TWC assess for misclassifying workers?
Penalties can be severe. It depends on the business you're in. It depends on your contracts. So if you have a state, federal, local municipality contract and you misclassify workers, you can be charged up to $200 per person as a penalty. And that's in addition to the tax and in addition to the interest. So that's something that you really don't want to get involved in. Okay?
Ms. Sherman, is there anything else you'd like to?
The one
them?
question. Did I answer? Well, you're seeing income tax. There's no state income tax. But as in terms of unemployment insurance tax, realtors, licensed realtors, licensed insurance agents, and a couple of other industries are exempt from paying unemployment insurance tax. Okay, we're talking about employment. That's not employment. Right, but he's not paying. That's not unemployment insurance. It's not tax for unemployment insurance purposes. He wouldn't claim that as income. Not if he sold a property. Okay. Well, I'll talk to you about it individually, but from my understanding, that's not considered income. Okay, as far as not taxed, that's different. There could be federal ramifications for that. Okay, all right, good to go? Y'all made me sit up here next to a Marine, so I have to tell the truth. So, my sister's a Marine, Semper Fi.
And I understand there's a hotline, I guess, for your office. I guess that all the attendees can find online, correct?
Yes, everybody has their own individual, as I mentioned. You can always call the Austin office, 512-463-2222. You can email me at, let me say it real low so nobody gets it, Sherman, SHERMAN.smith@twc.state.tx.us. I have a business card. I'll be happy to give it to anyone who's interested. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherman. Jenny, we're going to go with you now. What are the 4 pillars of a successful business and why are they important?
Okay, so the first thing that I'd like to do, if possible, is I want to get an idea of who's in the room, right? So we're all sort of talking, and I know everyone in here is a business owner. So by a show of hands, who's had your business between 0, so you're just thinking about a business, and 2 years? Just throw your hands up. Okay, great. So then from, 3 to 5 years? And everybody else? Okay, so let me just start over. You're just starting, I'm just thinking about it, up to 2 years, there's about 10 people. Is that about accurate? Okay. And then there's another 10 to 20 that are 3 to 5, is that correct? And then everybody else, are you 5 years and over? Okay, fantastic. So you're all really experienced. So we have more people in the room who are experienced business owners, which is great. So then, if I may, how many of you experienced business owners know what the 4 pillars are of business? Somebody shout it out. It's early. Okay, it's not a trick question. So one is operations, would you all agree? That's a pillar. The other is finance, would you all agree? Excellent. And another is sales. Would you all agree with that? And marketing. And I share that because often for new business owners, or even folks who are between 0 and 6 or 0 and 5, depending on what your business is and whether you're a solopreneur or you have a team, that you may not be thinking about those 4 business areas or those 4 areas of your business that you need to either focus on having a plan for and or focus on having team for, so that you can develop and expand each area of your business. So those are the four areas. And again, I'm doing some things I didn't know who was going to be in the room, so some is going to be kind of basic, and then we'll get into a little bit of lessons learned along the way.
What are the 3 things that business owners and entrepreneurs need to do on a daily basis?
So let me just go back to the first panel. There was, I think, at least 3 of the panelists talked about having a business plan. Can you raise your hand if you have a business plan right now? I love you guys. So for the other 80% of the room, I need you to take out your pens and a piece of paper and write down the number 1 page biz plan, B-I-Z, plan.com. So 1 page biz plan. So here's the deal. We believe that we can take that great concept in our head and make an awesome, amazing, legacy, wealth-generating business without a plan. If any of you have been married in this room, you probably had a plan to do it, unless you went to Vegas. Correct? If you, even if you went through your university or maybe your high school, or you were an athlete, there was a plan to get you from here to excellence, correct? So why are we running our businesses without a plan? One reason may be that when I look at that plan and I look at all those things that I got to fill out and I'm just figuring out my business, or I jumped out and I made $100,000 and I'm like, I'm so excited and I can just do this. And then you hit the wall, right? We hit walls. But we jump out without plans because we're like, it's in my head and I got it and I can do this. So your business is so important that you must plan for it. We often don't, because we look at all those things that we have to write and we're like, I don't know about marketing plan strategy right now. I have no idea. What, you want me to forecast 5 years out? I need to try to forecast for the next 5 minutes, right? So we sometimes don't get into writing our business plans because they're really long. Or you may have one that's collecting. How many of you have one that's collecting dust? It's beautiful. It's in a binder. You may have done one so you get some funding or you get an investor, juicy, excited, right? So the 1 page business plan is just a 1 page that you can look at every day. So the first thing is you got to have a business plan. And to be successful in a market, and the previous panel was speaking of this, you have to look at it literally every day. So if you have a 1 page kind of scorecard of what we need to do every day, you've got to be looking at your plan, where you're going every single day. That helps you as the leader or CEO or CFO or COO of the company. It also helps you continue to perpetuate the culture that you need in your company to get things done. So that's the first thing. The other is your money. Know your numbers. And you should know every single day how much money do we need to generate, literally on a daily basis. Why was that important? I know my money every single day. Okay, you guys, there's coffee out there. If you need coffee, it's not trick. You need to know your numbers, right? Because we're in business to have our services or products serving the needs of the people that need it. Well, there's a divine exchange, which is cash. So it's really important to know your numbers every single day. And I literally do it every single day, especially if you have so much going on. If you're a solopreneur and you're trying to figure out which end is up, look at your numbers. Oh, what do I need to bring in today? That means how many calls do I need to make, right? How many people do I need to get out and get in front of? The third thing that I think you should do on a daily basis is, this is really, really, really important. Schedule time, you should do this early in the morning, to spend time with your family, spend time with yourself, take a walk, go to the gym, go to a movie, have fun. You have to do that every single day as a business owner. Because if you don't, you'll be all crispy and burned out, and, your business will be for naught. So those are the 3 things.
What are 3 myths that cost business owners a lot of time and money?
So one of the myths is everybody is your client. That's not true. Everyone doesn't need a beautiful white jacket. They don't want it. They think it's out of season, so why would she be wearing a white, right? Everyone doesn't need your particular product or service. So you have to do the work, the really difficult work sometimes of really homing in. We talked about market research earlier. Doing that work to figure out who is my ideal client, who needs my solution, whatever it is, right? It is a huge, huge myth that everybody wants my whatever I have. It's so wonderful and amazing. You'll be chasing rabbits all over the place and you'll catch nothing. So it's really important to get super, super clear. The other is, and we talked, there was somebody talked about marketing earlier. Marketing is amazing. And later, next session, my friend Janae Clark-Johnson is going to be talking from Content That Matters, is going to be talking about marketing. She's amazing. She's done work with my company, and her company is extraordinary. So marketing is really super important. But what we tend to do sometimes is focus everything on marketing and forget sales gets money in the door. Sales gets money in the door, right? Marketing is necessary. It is one of your 4 pillars, but marketing will not create cash flow all by itself. You have to get out and talk to people. The other is spending a whole lot of time and money on beautiful websites, amazing business cards, and collateral. 80 to 90% of our time has to be spent talking to people, real live ones, like real live people, right? We often spend a lot of time, especially in the early days of a business, we spend a lot of time agonizing hours over the look and feel of my website. Well, if nobody knows you're there, it's great. They're not Googling, Jenny's website, Jenny's great business, right? So you got to get out, events like this, get out, get to conferences, get in places where your ideal customer is hanging out so you can connect with them. And then you can say, oh, go to my website, seekleadership.com, in case you were wondering.
Thank you, Jenny. Any quick questions for Jenny? We can have more at the end. Just
I have business cards too at this table over here. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
okay. Hey, Ashiya, why should small businesses take advantage of small business resources offered by community, nonprofit, and government agencies?
I believe that it's important to know what resources that are available for small businesses within your community. You've heard from some, but you will hear more about educational services, mentorship, even assistance with business plans, even furthering your business and taking your business to the next level. Organizations like SCORE, your SBDC, your Women's Business Center, entrepreneurship offices like at your HTC, these types of organizations can assist you for free and low cost for events like this and other educational events that can assist you. Also taking advantage of our free legal services that we're now offering at Lone Star Legal Aid, and just making sure that as small business owners, of course you're here to sell a product and service, and a product or a service, but knowing what tools are out there for you and taking advantages of those resources before you get into a dire need. So just being proactive about knowing what sources are available to you and connecting with those sources to develop those relationships. So when you are in need, you are able to take advantage of it, and also these relationships will help prevent you from encountering certain tax issues that you may have to encounter, and preparing you, even making your sales pitch even more effective. These resources can assist you with a lot of things with your business to take you to the next level and to free up your mental space in what you need to do, and free up your list of to-do lists by leveraging these resources in the community.
Why is having an operating agreement, partnership agreement, and updating these agreements important for your business?
So, thank you to my co-panelists. We do have, I guess, a survey of the room, but it's important to understand the need for your operating agreement. And sometimes when we go into our entrepreneur endeavors and small businesses as sole business owners, we think, oh, we'll hold off on the operating agreement or the partnership agreement because we're going into business with our best friend. But it's important to have these agreements in place because it, again, curtails a lot of issues that we may run into with who is in charge of management, how we're going to, use our resources, who's responsible for tax, even knowing your tax liabilities. A lot of that information will be in these agreements. And again, it's important to be proactive in these situations because it clears up a lot of mental space as a business owner. It's also important to have these agreements because when you're going out, when you're entering into business-to-business contracts or you're trying to encourage investors to invest in your business, having these agreements also show that you're a legitimate business, and it also shows that you're operating your business separate from your personal lives as well. It's also very important to have these initially when you're going into your business, but also to update these on a regular basis. So reviewing these at least once a year or however often it benefits you as a business owner, because things happen. Partnerships change, owners change, unfortunate bankruptcies and things of that nature, they happen. And so it's important to look at these agreements to make sure that the agreements are aligned with your business plan and that your agreements are aligned with your current business structure. Because again, when you would come to myself as an attorney or a private attorney, these agreements will help you curtail a lot of issues that you may have in terms of disagreements and liabilities later in the future.
And why do small businesses have the social media marketing advantage?
I believe in terms of now, in terms of social media with small businesses, our industries and environment are going back to customers want to be able to feel and connect with their businesses. And they want to feel and be able to connect with what services and products that they're purchasing. So small businesses have an advantage because they're able to leverage that their current customers and connect with them on a one-on-one basis in person, as well as to further that relationship on social media. Developing those relationships in person, as well as on social media, you could leverage those customer relationships as brand ambassadors, and having these brand ambassadors online oftentimes builds your rapport and your reputation with future customers. Future customers being able to see how you interact with your customers online, and how you represent yourself on social media. In addition, social media, you may pay for advertising on social media, but your actual social media presence is free. And so knowing how to leverage that and have a consistent communication with your customer base and possible future customer base is important. Also with social media, you're able to focus on a consistent niche instead of having your net cast very wide with who you're communicating with. You can communicate with specific individuals that you're trying to reach to continue your customer service base and relationships, but also to reach out to new customers in the future.
Now, Gabriella, last but not least, at what point should a company consider outsourcing human resources?
So human resources is a very high-risk task, but it doesn't produce any sort of revenue at all. And a lot of times the business owners that we're sitting down with are spending a lot of time on day-to-day HR, handling payroll, dealing with employee issues, onboarding documents, and they're really not focusing their time and energy back into growing the business. A lot of times the companies that we're sitting down with are dealing with what we call trigger events. So maybe they are experiencing rapid growth, or they're experiencing rising healthcare costs year after year. Maybe one of Sherman's friends came and visited them and gave them a fine for non-compliance. It really just depends for every small business. But for example, I work with a company that came on board last month. He has 17 employees, a tech firm. He's been doing everything in-house for the past 20 years, but he's really trying to grow and expand his business, and he decided to evaluate ADP. We found just through the evaluation process that he wasn't paying two taxes properly in different states, and he also wasn't offering workers' compensation in states that it was required. So since we brought him on board, I know that in the past month he has leased a new office space, he's hired a couple of employees, and just from conversations with him, he's really able to focus a lot of his time and energy back into growing the business.
What is one way ADP help mitigate risk?
So one of the things that we do for our clients is by helping not only put together an employee handbook, but also making sure that your handbook is constantly staying updated. Because an employee handbook is something a lot of times when we're sitting down with clients, they say, yeah, I have a handbook, but they made it 20 years ago. So it's things have obviously changed in the past 20 years. Even in the past 5 years, I know that it was Department of Labor or TWC that recently released something about having to have a harassment clause if you have over 15 employees. So that's something that we constantly make sure is staying updated. For instance, if you had an employee come forward saying that they're being harassed by another employee and you decide Texas is an at-will state, you're just going to fire that individual. That individual is now going to file for unemployment against your company, and when Texas Workforce Commission calls you, they are going to ask you, what types of policies did you have in place to prevent this harassment from happening in the first place? Did your employees, was it communicated to them? Did your employee know that this could be grounds for termination? And having things like that in an employee handbook is just one way to help avoid and mitigate that risk.
Okay, how can a company see how they compare to the industry as far as what they should be offering to their employees?
So we have something that's called a benchmark report. Has anybody heard of a benchmark report or gone through that process before? Anybody? Okay. So a benchmark report is basically a way for you to see where you compare against the industry in the areas of talent, compensation, benefits, and risk. So we give you a set of questions, you answer them, and we put a full report together for you. Because ADP has so many clients, we pay 1 in 6 U.S. workers, and we work with companies to pull data and analytics from other companies. We're able to provide you with data showing you exactly where you stack, rank against your competition is in those areas. So we can pull it in just the city of Houston, or we can pull it in the state or in the nation. But I did have one client about a year ago, right before Harvey, that I met with. We were talking to him because he was experiencing a lot of turnover. He was offering benefits, and he was saying, I pay really well in the industry. I don't know why I'm losing employees. So we did a benchmark report, and not only did we find that he was severely underpaying his employees, but he was also offering a very rich health and benefits plan that his employees really couldn't even afford to participate in. And so we just, we came up with a game plan on how to offer a couple of different health plan options. And with those savings, he was able to invest those dollars back into giving his employees raises, raising their salaries, giving them bonuses, and it helped him retain employees better. And the benchmark report tool, that is something that we do for free for current clients as well as prospective clients. Typically, it makes sense to start doing a benchmark report once you hit about 10 employees. So if that is something that you're interested in, please come find me afterwards and I can get you some information on that. Thanks.
Do any of our panel members have anything else they would like to add? Okay, do we have questions for any of our panel members? Yes, sir.
This is a safe space, so you can start your question for me with, I have a friend who.
I have a lot of friends.
So,
Yeah, what are the main what is classification? I know that we have classified. What are the main ones to make sure that we're not classifying people?
When you say main classifications,
Yeah, well, why are they classified? Dependent worker,
Yeah.
that's what there's more.
Texas unemployment, well, it's TUCA, Texas Unemployment Act. Our act has employee and independent contractor. And there's a gray area in the middle. That's why you have the fine print on the other side of the red, white, and blue sticker, where employers tend to try to gray it their way. And so you'll say, I have a 1099 employee. No, you don't. You're either paying a guy a 1099 or you have an employee. They'll say, well, this guy is just contract. Well, no. He's either your employee or you have an agreement with him to perform a service for you. So that's kind of the way you look at it. Primarily, if you're wondering, he's probably your employee. Okay? Yes? I kind of understand, maybe you can talk a little bit more about exempt versus non-exempt. When she talked about that handbook, right?
Yeah, so basically exempt employees, that just means that they are exempt from receiving overtime. So I don't know if you guys remember a few years ago, they were about to pass something that said that if you have exempt employees, you have to at least be paying them minimum wage, because what was happening across the board was people were saying my people are salaried and they were working 100 hours a week, and if you broke down their salary divided by the number of hours they were working per week, it turned out that they weren't even making minimum wage. So that's an area that you do have to be very careful in as far as how you classify them. As far as benefits go, if you do offer some sort of health insurance plan, you have to offer it to all of your employees, and you have to pay a certain percent of the premium. If you choose to offer benefits to contractors, you have to offer it to all of your contractors. So there's some areas you just have to be really careful in there.
Not that type of, but let's say somebody takes 2 hours of sick time, exempt employee. By default, they're obligated to pay the salary, compensation for the salary.
Yes.
So whatever is good on one side should be good on the other side.
Yeah, that's something that refers back to your employee handbook. We see issues with that all the time where those policies and procedures weren't made clear to the employee. So they assume that, they should have received those 2 hours back, but it really refers back to the employee handbook and what policies and procedures the company chooses to put in place.
TWC is pretty clear as far as the law is concerned, however, the practices are different.
Yeah, we see different practices across the board.
I believe this gentleman had a question. You're going to defer?
Thanks for the panel. My name is Ed Bryan. I'm from Illinois Commercial. We have this conversation all the time about social media and relationship. So how would you describe sales, business development, marketing, how those three things interact, how they are different?
So from my perspective, the marketing is really, it's almost like it's engaging, so it's out there, right? It's like you have your website, so your website could be considered marketing, so could your collateral, what have you, if you have ads up, that kind of thing, as a component. So it's, for me, from my perspective, and I think everyone, and Janae will speak to this later, and people in the room may have different perspectives, but that's almost static. And then you said sales. To me, for sales, it's much more engagement, right? Again, depending, you're in real estate, you said, right? Commercial real estate. So you are all about engagement. It's all about the relationship, right? And so that's the sales part. And what was the third one you said? Your business development. So that's prospecting. Is that correct? So that's prospecting, going out. Again, I look at it through the lens that I have and the work that I've done along the way. So business development, it may be something that I'm a new Texan, that I'm doing a lot of engagement and relationship building. So that's the business development for me. A lot of around leadership development in particular. There's a lot of conversations. There's a lot of getting the company name in the mouths of people. There's a lot of that. Then sales is obviously sitting down with someone who I've been in that business development relationship with, and then walking through the process in which we will then exchange money for service, right? So does that answer your question? Was there can you kind of clarify if there was a?
Yeah, I think the challenging time is business development and marketing.
So, as not a marketing expert, for me, what I've learned the hard way is that the business development sales is all full contact. That's for me. And again, for different businesses, there's different things, right? For those folks and for the millennials, they've been cultivated on the social media, so it's a 1-off or a 5-off. So that's a whole different kind of engagement. But I think the kind of work you're in, I think that you have to look at that. What kind of work are we doing? What kind of business are we in? Commercial real estate is a full contact. It's getting out, it's talking to people, it's going almost door to door in some respects, right? And so I think if I'm also hearing inside of your question the multi-generational workforce and being able to blend that conversation and training both sides up, right? So the boomers may not be, may not want to do any marketing, may not want to do any social media, may not want to put anything on the business Facebook page, right? Well, the millennials are like, well, just put it out there, they'll find it, right? And so there may be a need to kind of train both sides, and that can be really about even your corporate culture, your company culture, training both sides to begin to realize that you do need social media because young people who are, we're in a tech corridor here, right? So you have 30-somethings or 20-somethings who have, multi-million-dollar companies that may be using social media solely. But you also got to figure out if you have boomers in that mix, and they need to touch those people too, to be able to work with both sides and train both sides. And it's an awareness. I think if you're talking about multi-generational, there's definitely an awareness and a training that needs to happen to bring both to the point of valuing both perspectives and both experiences. Does that answer your question? Thanks.
It's a great panel, and I'm sorry we're out of time for now. We have some great booths out there, people at these booths manning them. I suggest that you go out and talk to them. They can answer any of your questions that you may have. So we'll see you shortly.